After testing the depth against Moreirense, it was back to Tankstead plus the 10 usual suspects against Marseille in a game that dictated Benfica's exit from the Europa League. Back home, it was testing the bench against Farense with a different result. That and much more in another night, another podcast.
Hasta que no estás aquí dentro no sabes la grandeza de este equipo.
Quero o Benfica intimidar o adversário. Quero um manto sagrado entrar com vocês em qualquer estádio e assustá-los, pá! É isso que eu quero!
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Talking to the Dog Benfica podcast. My name is Alfredo. Here we are, Benfica podcast episode 525. With me, as always, Dave de Oliveira. What's happening, Dave?
What's going on, Alfredo? Good to be back here in your company, Cristiano's company, and the Freddy's company. We're all in each other's misery here tonight, but nothing that a podcast can't fix. So great to be back and chatting everything that's been going on in Benfica land this past week.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. With us, making his triumphant return, Cristiano Oliveira. What's happening?
Hey, what's going on, gentlemen? I wish I could share the enthusiasm, but I'm not so sure if it's so great being back on here talking about this misery. But that's for a little bit later on. I don't want people to start turning off the podcast yet.
Yeah. Before we get going, I want to say hello to the Freddies, obviously. Malgacious Annoying Accent Reviews is here. Jose Araújo from Virginia is here. Jason Gaidola.
Jose, what's up?
Kevin, Manny Valadão, Diogo Reis. Yeah, the usual suspects and all the guys that are watching us tonight but are not in the chat.
I have a question for Jose Araújo.
Diz lá.
You gotta give me a second. Jose Araújo, have you heard of the Espresso Portuguese American Grill? Where is this at?
Manassas?
American Grill. There's a key. Yeah, Manassas. Good side. Alfred, how'd you know?
Because that's where most of the Portuguese are.
Tu és muito.
Pá, eu sou gajo educado, pá. Só não percebo nada de geografia nem matemática.
That's what I was gonna say. I'm surprised. You normally get the geography right, but you got Manassas right. So
yeah,
you normally get it wrong.
Yeah, it's Jose Araújo says confirms it. Manassas, from what I remember.
Yes.
From what I remember, that's where most of the Portuguese community lived. Or there's few restaurants. There's a Portuguese club, if I recall correctly, Manassas. I remember, Chris, because I think once upon a time we went. There was a team of the Lisa All Stars that went down to Virginia to play the local Portuguese team, if I remember correctly. It was a while. It was a long time ago.
I've done that in Florida and Orlando. I just never. I might have gone to VA, to Virginia or Maryland. I think I did, as a matter of fact. I'm pretty sure I did, but I don't remember off the top of my head. But that's a good shout, buddy. My friend John, who lives over there in DC area, moved from Jersey. He's living there for professional reasons. He went there, so he's been searching for Portuguese restaurants, and so told me he was there over the weekend. So I figured I'd ask Jose. Yeah. But nonetheless, let's get back to the topic at hand. The Freddies, welcome. Carrega do like button. Smash it. Não esquece do like button. E vamos lá, minha gentilina.
Yeah. On tonight's podcast.
Look, Red. Hold on. I'm sorry. Red Baron. He said play the tournament down there. Yep. So Red Baron's like, yep. That's it.
Yeah,
he confirms.
Yeah, I remember I was maybe like 17 or 18, somewhere. So it was a long time ago.
Yeah, Kevin, there's Stugas all throughout the country.
Yeah,
Believe
man.
it or not.
There's
Idaho, East
there
Stroudsboro. I mean,
there's
shit.
Stugas in Iowa, for sure.
Iowa, Idaho, there's Stugas everywhere, bro.
They're all over the
We're
place.
like cockroaches. We're like cockroaches.
Yeah, yeah. Olha, on tonight's podcast, Marseille recap.
Milton Carvalho wrote.
Farense recap, and we'll look ahead to Braga. In a time of the season where it's a little bit I don't know. I don't know if complicated is the word that I'm looking for, but certainly at a time of the season that we would hope that we weren't in the situation that we are in, obviously, because of the season. But certainly right now, being out of the Europa League at a time where we felt that Marseille was very accessible. Then we were seeing the result on the other side of the bracket, not on the other side, the same side, but the bracket that was going to play us. And we're seeing Atalanta go past Liverpool. And we're thinking, man, we beat Marseille. We have a decent game against Atalanta, decent 2 games against Atalanta in this newly discovered form. And maybe we see ourselves in the Europa League final. And I think as a Benfiquista, and I don't think I'm being too optimist, but as a Benfiquista, and Benfiquistas are always optimists, right? But as a Benfiquista, I thought, man, there's a way. There's a way to get there. And then at the finals are always very unique games. But certainly, with the track that we had and how things shaped up in terms of Atalanta Liverpool, because the biggest thing was like, well, if we get past Marseille, we got Liverpool to contend with. They want to make their mark for the season. It's Klopp's last season. So we thought that there was going to be a little harder task, but then when we saw Atalanta get past them or get 3-0 in the first leg, we thought, oh, man, maybe there's a way. Dave, deep down inside, did you think that maybe there was a way for us if we got past Marseille to get to the final?
100%. And I think that's why I kept on saying I think reaching the finals was could possibly save this season, because I saw that path, but I also saw that same path last year when we drew Inter and Milan, Napoli on that side of the Champions League draw, and we saw how that unfortunately ended up. So sometimes it's better not to see and just keep your eyes closed and just move forward, because like we've said in the past, these favorable draws on paper don't end up turning out in our favor.
No.
And once again, we're in the same position as we were last year out at the quarterfinals.
Absolutely. And with what we got 4 games or 3 games left to go in the season. The 4, Dave?
4.
Yeah.
4.
So it's I forget who it is. Braga, Rio Ave at the end, Famalicão, and who else? Dave. Yeah, but what we're trying to say, went all around like I usually do, around the merry-go-round, and trying to say something. What I'm saying is that 4 games left to go. Usually we're not really used to 4 games and nothing to play for. I know that we've had pretty horrible seasons with Verissimo finishing them up. But certainly after everything that has gone on, and especially after last year, we thought that we'd be in a much better place at the end of the season. But we find ourselves with nothing to play for at this juncture. And see the bench players playing, the team, rotated team playing better. And I don't know if that has to do with the fact that, we have capable players, which we know we do, or the pressure's off, right? Because I think that the team knows that they need they needed 4 points to clinch Champions League. They got 3 points. They need 1 more. So in 4 league games, I think that's getting 1 point is going to be an easy task for Benfica. But certainly, I think that at this point, Benfica is playing without pressure, especially after the Europa League exit. But let's get right into the Europa League. I'll give you the lineup, and we'll get started and with the Europa League. Man, I did something here. I don't know what I did here with the. There's nothing here. Yeah, we got one.
Did you switch the lineup? Is that
we got one working. No, it's just the graphics on the stream not working. I think I deleted them by mistake. But anyway, lineup against Marseille: Trubin, Ba, Silva, Otamendi, and Auschnitz across the back. Tino and Neves, Di Maria, Nerj on the wings, Rafa underneath. The Viking wonder, Tankstead, Cristiano's favorite player of all time. Cristiano, is Tankstead your favorite player of all time, Benfica, or just in the past decade?
He's right there, bro. I mean, I was thinking about getting his name tattooed on one of my butt cheeks, but only if we won the cup, the Europa League. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen anymore. But maybe I'll reconsider in the future because this is one of those once in a lifetime players at Benfica, man. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
absolute phenom,
Dave.
Fantastic player.
No, Dave. Chris, if you were to tattoo Tankstead on one of your cheeks, would it be the one that you lift when you fart, or the one that stays down when you fart? These are very important. These are very important questions.
I don't know. He said preguntas. There's like dogs. They lift their leg to piss and shit. Like I don't. You know what I mean? I just fart, bro. You know what I mean?
You don't lean to one side or the other.
I don't lean.
You have a preference? You're not a righty or a lefty?
I guess it depends how much feijoada I eat. But no, normally you guys just want to get paid to see call it a day. Well, there's never had that question asked.
If you have feijoada, you might not have enough time to raise a cheek. It's just gotta come out, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Dave. You just let loose, bro. Just let it loose.
Yeah. So what can we say about this game? A game that Benfica was taking a 2-1 aggregate into this game. So we really needed to kind of get on top of Marseille, take the crowd out of the game, as I mentioned in the game preview when Dave and I did the podcast last week. But really, good first initial 5 minutes by Benfica, but then after that, it was all Marseille.
Alfredo, it was all downhill when the lineup comes out.
Yeah. It was all downhill.
All downhill once the lineup comes out. Once you see that Monku up front, the ghost. That's the only thing he did is live up to his name, Casper the Ghost, who does absolutely nothing. The dude hasn't shot on goal, and I think as long as I haven't, and I haven't played for Benfica, I think ever, between us. But it's just been absolutely atrocious. I mean, the team goes out to Marseille, a team that Benfica has, I want to say, man, the obligation. I know some might think I'm a little crazy, but Benfica has the obligation to beat this horrible Marseille team who was coming in to this game after having lost 5 games in a row, if I'm not mistaken.
5 games in a row and 7th or 9th place in the Euro.
Yeah, horrendous. Just
domestically, bunch of hurt players.
And our coach comes into this game acting like we're playing the 2011 Barcelona side. We come in and play like a bunch of pussies. And of course you don't get the result. And it's just frustrating. This coach doesn't understand. I know some of you guys are going to be pouting here on the chat that whatever, I'm too critical. I don't give a shit, man. Listen, I'm going to give you my opinion. You like it, you like it. You don't like it, do what you want with it. But at the end of the day, man, Benfica and this coach have been absolutely lost. These players are absolutely lost. These ignorant fans just want to come out here and blame the likes of Di Maria. The only guys that have shown up all season that have actually created, that have saved this coach's bacon all season long. And you have the audacity to come out here and insult the guy and criticize him when the coach in reality is the one that's absolutely clueless. He has no idea how to position these players. You see that he does not watch video. It's proven, right, that he does not watch video year after year. I mean, it's only been 2 years, but you know what I'm trying to say. In particular, this 1 year. And it's just hard to sit here and try to spin positives out of this when this is a team that I think last year's Benfica walks away with a 6-7-0 freaking victory with this side. But yeah, here we are, giving them the ball, playing like a small side, playing with Tankstead up top because my man can run. But unfortunately, football is about scoring goals and kicking the ball and controlling the ball and passing the ball. But he can run. So let's give the guy a break. That's why he needs to play. Come on, give me a fucking break. I got more.
You got
I'm just,
more?
but I'm just gonna
You
keep
just
it
you
short.
just get you
I'll keep it short.
just getting
Yeah,
started.
because I know you want to talk about the game and stuff.
I
So
don't know if I want to talk about the game, right? I think that you could listen back to any of our podcasts in terms of our appreciation of Roger Schmidt and how he reads the game and how he moves the pieces and how he doesn't really help the team when the team is clearly struggling. Um, it's rinse and repeat in terms of Roger Schmidt,
no,
right?
but Alfredo, you could go back more so than this game. He doesn't help the team by the decisions he's made. Him in the front office and whomever they decide to play a left back. In this game, you have a game that Benfica, yes, they're pretty much being outplayed, but no crazy opportunity, right?
Yeah.
Marseille is just putting on the pressure, but nothing crazy. I mean, there's one save, I guess, the one save by what's his name, Antonio Truben, when he comes down and the ball just sticks to his glove, if you guys recall. And when that save happened, I said, yeah, there's no way Benfica's going to lose this game. Things are going our way, and this is a sign of things to happen. And then, now what? 5, 10 minutes later, you see Aubameyang going down the left, and he crosses the ball into a dude who had been a substitute, who had just come in not too long before, and he's in between four guys, and I'm like, okay, this is controlled. And what happens? The great savior, right? The polyvalent, the Swiss Army of knives is I just don't understand because this one thing we're taught. I was taught at 13 years old that it's you always get in between the man and the goal, and he doesn't do that, and he gets caught napping. And one guy in between four Benfiquistas is able to get his head on the ball, and all this before we know, we're losing 1-0. And it's just like Roger Schmidt, due to his decisions in Jurassic Park and whomever else, right? It all correlates. It adds up, and it's mistakes after. It's not just in this game. But this has been the whole season. It's the decisions and everything that this club has made and these guys have made and Roger Schmidt has made that just backfired. And now it cost us an opportunity to go to a semifinal. And I know Atalanta was not going to be an easy walk in the park. But at the end of the day, I would have wished I would have had the opportunity to play these guys in the semifinal. But yeah, here we are talking about another disastrous season. It is absolutely inexcusable to lose to this bum ass Marseille side.
Yeah, look, I think at the end of the day, when we all sit back and reflect back on the season, um, there's not much you could really point at this squad and say that there was no effort there, and said there was a concerted action to take out Roger Schmidt out of the locker room. Nothing like that, right? As a matter of fact, on the contrary, I think the players love Roger Schmidt, with the exception of one or two that are disgruntled because they've been poorly managed. But the biggest situation here that you look at goes back to squad management, and I think that Roger Schmidt struggled. Di Maria didn't need to play all the minutes that he played this season. And I think that Roger Schmidt kind of did Di Maria a disservice. Obviously, no player likes to sit the bench, but at 35, 36 years old, you got to be able to manage those legs. You can't be playing every 3 days and feel that you're going to give your 100% to the team. So I think that Roger Schmidt has done a really poor job in terms of managing the squad. I know that Zach was complaining about Auschwitz, but Auschwitz is a victim of Roger Schmidt's inability to manage the squad. Because if Auschwitz had been played in his natural position, or the position that he had so much success last year in, which is a left midfield that drifts into the interior, I think that Auschwitz would have been a lot better. Instead, he spent time at right back, at left back, at whatever other position he was put in, except the position where he's the most effective in.
I really do. I really do hope and pray, and I'm gonna light up some bellas. This year I'm gonna go to Fatima here in Washington, New Jersey, light up some candles. I really do hope and pray that whomever, if they do decide to switch it up and bring in a new coach, or if Roger Schmidt bangs his head and all of a sudden starts making sensible decisions, I really hope that they find a way to play Arsenal at 6. Arsenal is not a a winger. He's not a left midfielder. I know he had a good season last year, but a lot of times, yes, as good as he was, he also hurt us a lot of times because he doesn't have the ability to beat nobody one on one. So Benfica was the team that, due to the pressure that they were able to apply last year, they were countering a lot of teams, and due to his and João Mario's lack of speed or individual one on one ability, like Benfica didn't really get the service or the results that they would have hoped if they would have had a David Neres in there, or even like this year's Di Maria, those guys with the ability to have to create things out of nothing. So I really do hope that Arsenal gets adapted. Like, because again, Arsenal's always played a six. That's what he played before he got to Benfica.
Yeah, or 6 or an
So
8.
I hope that
That's
whatever,
that's
either
the
way,
position we signed him for, right?
Yeah.
When he came in
Yeah.
last year, was that
Mhm.
expectation?
he was going to be the backup at both positions, at a 6 and at the 8. And so you play him with João Neves. That's if João Neves even comes back. I know we're going to get the Calverdiano kid, right? Or no, Luxemburg, right?
Yeah.
Oh, what's his name? I forget his name already.
The guy that's playing in Belgium.
No, he's playing in Germany.
Germany.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, what's his name?
He's playing for
I forget his name.
Mainz.
Well, if any of you guys in the chat know what I'm talking about, his name, Barreiro, is it Barreiro?
Yeah,
Something like
Barreiro.
that.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right, Chris.
Something like that. I think he's going to be another guy that could play the 6 or an 8. But I really do hope that Benfica plays a proper 4-2-3-1 system with 2 defensive center mids in the middle, or like a holding midfielder and a guy that can move the ball like a João Neves, somebody like that. Even though I don't think João Neves will be back, and then proper wingers, because in this Tugal you need players with that ability to be able to break down those low blocks, and especially when you're playing the bigger teams and countering, to be able to beat people one on one. So I agree with you, Alfredo. He's been a victim, but at the same time, he's played a lot of right back last year. This year he's playing left back, and I just wish that at some point somebody would take him aside, Luis Zone, whomever, one of the coaches, and teach the guy to properly defend, because you see that defending on that one play, man. Like, you gotta get in between the goal. It's just the post.
Yeah.
You and then the man.
It's basics.
You gotta be and it's basic. And I learned this shit. And listen, Alfredo. You know me. I was a 10. That's it. Defending was just fake. It's like a mannequin. I was like Casper the Ghost on the defensive side of the ball, right? I'd act like I was just get in there, just act like I knew what the hell I was doing. But you know what I mean? Like, I was horrible defending, but I still knew it. I just didn't want to do it because I was lazy. But I still knew, like, I learned that at a very young age, and I don't understand that they wouldn't teach this guy at this level to do the same. And I'm not trying to kill the guy, right? Because as you said, he's adapted, blah, 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 blah. But I just wish that common sense, or that IQ that everybody raves and about Alston, I wish that IQ would come out a little bit more at times.
Yeah. No, we all know that he's an adaptive player. He's never going to have the defensive traits, and I think that we continue to go with him. Look, I think at this point is beating a dead horse is been poor decision after poor decision, poor management of the squad. But what I was trying to say is that I don't think there's much that you could point to the squad in terms of effort, in terms of what they put out on the pitch, in terms of fight. With the exception of a couple guys that go missing, obviously, Rafa being one of them. But I think it goes down that Roger Schmidt really did a disservice to the squad, because the squad, as we know it, has the potential to do a lot more than what we did, and we end up the season basically trophyless, or with the Super Cup, if you want to.
That's not a trophy. Nobody gives a shit about that.
If you want to count that as a trophy, and that's the
only
Super
thing
Cup.
that was good about it. The only thing that was good about it was beating who we beat. But Alfredo, you're going more into a generalization of the season, and I'm trying to stick a little bit more with this one game, right?
Well,
this team, again, from the coach to the players, as I mentioned before, with the IQ, with the awareness, right? Like, the players, the coach, they're all fucking sleeping in this game. It was absolutely atrocious. You go into extra time, and Marseille did nothing. All they did was spend all extra time on the floor with cramps. The players were dead, as you mentioned. They had injuries. The team was there, and the coach, that at no point At no point did he not have the fucking awareness to say, yo, guys, these guys son tus partidos, bro.
Yep.
Let's get on top of them. Let's go.
Yep.
Like these guys can barely stand up. But no, we're touching the ball around, giving them time to recuperate, helping them up. Man, that's the one shit that we talk about year after year here on the podcast and wherever the hell it is that we talk, Alfredo. A lot of the times I call you and vent, you too, Dave, on WhatsApp, always venting and stuff. One of the things I've always complained, and I think this might be one of the things we actually agree perfectly on, which is for years we've sat here and we can't stand Football Club de Porto, but we praise their attitude and their mentality when it comes to Champions League, right? And it just this is another perfect example of that. Porto and they wouldn't have just sat there. They would have smelled blood and they would have attacked. It's totally different. No, we're just hey, now you take it. No, now you take it. No, now you take it. No, okay, now give it back to me. Okay, here you go. And these guys are on the fucking floor dead.
Yeah. No, it's 61st minute he made the first substitution. He brought Kokshu for Tankstead, which is perfect. He brought João Mário Faneres, who at that time was the only Benfica player creating danger.
He was probably the best Benfica player until that point.
Right. In the 79th minute, we give up that goal with Auschwitz being beaten on a far post. Benfica has their first corner of the game in the 83rd minute. 83rd minute. Then went to overtime, 102nd minute, Cabral came in, Farafa. And it's like Cristiano says, right? All of these guys, young kids are coming in because that's all they got. They tapped into the B team to get these young kids to play. You got guys all over the field with cramps. And yet, you got Gouveia on the bench who had a good game against Moreirense. You got other guys that can put the intensity into the game, that take the game to these guys. And yet, Mr. Pocketpool is sitting on the sidelines doing absolutely jack shit. And then Benfica says au revoir to this competition. Took it to penalty kicks.
Absolute embarrassment.
Even in penalty kicks, we weren't prepared in penalty kicks. Missed the first, scored the next 2 or 3, and then we missed another one at the end. And
no, we scored the next 2, and then we missed the fourth.
Yeah. So it was
no. Hold on. So Koksu scored. Right? Otamendi scored. That's what it was. So Koksu, Otamendi, Di Maria missed, Koksu, Otamendi, and then Antonio Silva missed.
Right.
That was what it was.
So yeah. So definitely an embarrassment for Benfica, and it's like Sergio had something, but we've said it here before that Benfica has this ability to raise the dead.
Hugo said that multiple times. What's his name? Felipe Grande, our boy Felipe Teixeira, says that all the time, and it just is. Benfica has the ability to. They're the only ones that give life to the dead.
Yeah,
they've arise because Benfica. Alfredo, and you could go back to a couple years ago if you remember. I don't know if Dave, you might have. I don't know. You might have been part of this already. It was towards the end of it. No, I don't know. It was when Iker Casillas was still at Porto, and Benfica was flying. Porto had been pretty bad, and I remember sitting here talking about how we haven't been this confident going into a Benfica Porto game as we were in that game. We're all predicting like 3-0 results, and Porto ends up beating us.
Yep. And I think I remember that game. Is that the game that Casillas stood on his head, made a couple of really good saves?
Yeah. But whatever. But they found a way to beat us.
Yeah,
they found a way to beat us.
Yeah, but it's
and that's just Benfica. And again, and why? And you guys are like, if you're on, why am I mentioning that? Because Benfica gave them life.
Yeah,
Benfica's had opportunities year after year to step. Excuse the term, because I know it could be sensitive to some people, and I'm not even trying to be funny or obnoxious with this. So, but they had an opportunity to step on their throat.
Yep.
And put them out of their misery. But no, we gave them life. We gave them CPR. And we did this time after time. And then again, in a game like this, where we had an opportunity to go step on their throats, we're chilling, man. Roger Schmidt is saving his subs. Another walk at the beach. And I'm gonna tell you right now, guys. And I know you're still talking about the game, Dave. You haven't even said much. I apologize. I can't shut up. You know, I got to get my money's worth of words because it's been a while. But there is something else that annoys me even more so than we'll be watching these games, bro. And that is Roger Schmidt's press conferences afterwards. I don't have to apologize. I don't have to like, oh, we didn't know. Like, my man, get a fucking clue, my man. Understand where you're at. And if you don't know where you're at, then somebody at Benfica needs to tell you, needs to pull you aside. This is Sport Lisboa Benfica, bro. You can never excuse a loss. You can't just come in with a bullshit excuse of just being eliminated from a European competition or any competition. My man, get a clue.
Yeah.
And that shit seems to annoy me. And it's got nothing to do with the fact that I'm not a Roger Schmidt fan today. It's just that, bro, you cannot be that clueless, bro. You cannot be that.
Is there not a communications director within the club that can kind of give him the
Yeah.
They pay somebody.
what?
No, that guy just likes to keep an eye on me. He wants to argue with me.
They pay somebody to do it. Whether he's doing his job or not, that's debatable. But I mean, the charity cases that Benfica has given so many teams, right? And it's just not this year. It seems like every year we're giving life to somebody. I'm surprised that the club doesn't get a bigger tax write-off as a result of all this charity.
Alfredo, you know what is absolutely bonkers to me? Absolutely bonkers. And I guess we'll give these guys a plug once again because you mentioned this a few weeks ago, and I had never even heard of this podcast. But you had mentioned, and this comment I'm making, Alfredis and Dave and Alfredo, and you guys listening wherever you may be, it also relates to what we'll say about this Monday's game and about Roger Schmidt. So this ties into that as well. Okay, so just keep this in mind. If I don't remember to mention it again, keep this in mind. Which is you had mentioned what's the podcast with my man that does the videos?
Oh, Guillermo?
Yeah,
Guillermo Cabral?
Guillermo. What's that? What? Yeah, Guillermo, what's this podcast? You had mentioned
Fuck,
it on
I
air.
don't remember.
Whatever, but the point is that you had mentioned Luis. What's his name? Luis Vidal, the guy from CNN.
Yep.
He was going to be on. And I actually mentioned this to Hugo today. And I told Hugo a while ago to watch it. And he didn't. And I told him again today if he had watched it and listened to it, he would have known what I was referring to. But in that podcast, Luis Vidal, right? That's his name, right?
Mata Mata.
Who is a little bit Mata Mata. Okay, the podcast Mata Mata. Luis Vidal, a CNN commentator. He's a professor at one of the universities in Portugal. He's a little full of himself. A little full of himself. But that doesn't take away from the fact that he knows how to put a few words together, make them sound beautiful, and make some sense out of things. And he mentioned in that podcast, Alfredo, you watched it, and he mentioned in that podcast what the game, what the plan, right? What the game plan is for Portuguese teams, and in particular Benfica over the years, on how to get their coaches, like, for other words, sacked. I'm sorry, right? And he mentioned that the coaches will start making these press conferences. The club will leave them out there by themselves to hanging. Nobody from the club or the Strutura will back these guys up. They will then bury themselves. The fan base will turn against them, and then they get canned. And that's what's happening here again, because again, somebody has to step in and take Roger Schmidt by the hand if you have to, and not allow this guy to say some of the things you say. Explain to him that at Benfica, there is such thing as fucking exigência. And you can't just come out here and excuse an elimination loss from a major competition as just like, oh yeah, I don't know anybody explanations. Wait. This is part of Benfica. Yes, the fuck you do. And so it's again, listen to Luis Vidal. He says a lot of things about the club that make you say, And now you see these things happening with the coach. And then obviously the stuff he said after Monday's game, which is even more incendiary, right? And you start to see that this is not the first time this happens at Benfica, and you start to see that this is the road that they choose to take.
Yep.
And so, yeah, Roger annoys the shit out of me, but I don't know who the hell I should be more annoyed at, man. I really don't. I
Yeah.
really don't know who I should
Look,
be more annoyed at.
I think, like you said, there's Rogers is saying something, and doesn't seem like anybody's coaching him in terms of, hey, maybe you shouldn't say that, or say it like this, or try to do something in a way that you're kind of connecting to the fans, and the fans can relate to what you're saying. Don't say top team, top game when the game was absolutely shit, and anyone with one brain cell could figure out that
Yeah,
the
he
game
did that against Studio, remember?
was shit.
He did that when we lost to Studio, remember? Oh, top game, you played well. Like, you played what?
No, because here's the thing: you're making us look like assholes, and we're not.
Well,
We're not stupid.
I would like to congratulate Roger Schmidt over one thing. He's actually I thought this was impossible, guys. He's actually made Rui Vitoria look like a tremendous coach. Because we'd say, what the hell is Rui Vitoria watching? Remember that?
Yeah.
We'd be like, but even Rui Vitoria wasn't this outlandish, bro.
No. We could still find some logic in Vitoria's moves, but Roger, holy shit.
No, not the moves. I'm talking about the press conferences.
The press conferences? Yeah, the press conferences.
Yeah, because a lot of times we'd be like, what the hell's Rui Vitoria watching that we didn't watch?
Yeah,
exactly. And this guy is even worse.
Yeah, but Roger Schmidt, don't try to put the wool over my eyes. I mean, we could see that the team didn't play well. Who are you talking to? Who are you appealing to? Because certainly, I think a lot of frustration comes from people watch the game, come out of the game, are anxious to hear what he has to say, hoping that he says, hey, we didn't play well.
Take accountability, Alfredo.
Take some blame.
Accept
accountability. Right.
The one thing that I've gotten from him, and I'm sorry, man, I keep talking, but is that he's arrogant. He's very arrogant. He doesn't know where he's at. Take some accountability. People will respect you more for that than you always try to make it like, it's never your fault. It's never your fault. You know what I mean? Like, oh, the team played well. And again, is it because you are clueless? Is it because you are trying to shelter your team and you're scared to talk to these guys because they're babies? Which either way is a problem.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Right.
Either way, if you're afraid to talk the truth because you're afraid that the locker room is going to be soft and turn on you, then that's a problem in itself as well.
Right.
All right, and I digress. Let me shut up, man. I've been talking.
I want to read some comments before Dave will give us the stats. Milton Carvalho wants to know who's better, Casper or Brian Dean? Brian Dean all day.
Brian Dean come on, Milton. That is
by
not even
by
close.
The length of the English Channel.
Yeah, it's got nothing to do with that. Alfredo, I just wanted to don't forget to read Jose Araújo. He said he came in to give the like. He was going to have to go to work calls. I watched the podcast tomorrow. Love from USA to all my Tugas.
Yeah.
So good looking, Jose Araújo. Thanks for sharing your your what is it, Madagascan? What was
Manassas.
it? Manassas. Yep.
Kevin says this year we relied on individual brilliance more so than team
for
play.
Sure.
Gotta wait for some magic from Di Maria or Rafa. And when is the Rafa magic doesn't show up? Then what?
The Rafa magic has disappeared. What? It's been a couple months now. Or a month.
It's probably done for the year.
Yeah, it's done.
Yeah.
For the year.
Wait. Hold on. Let me correct you, Dave. First Benfica career.
Yeah.
How's that?
Yeah. That's correct. He's done.
He has a small amount of magic in his little bottle, and that shit runs out quickly.
Yeah. Diogo Reis says, I think we would have been embarrassed by Atalanta, no doubt. Jason Gaidola says, Benfica's backline is a major problem. Otamendi is regressing, and Tony Silva is having a bit of a sophomore slump. I don't disagree with that. Kevin also says we got to cheer for Leverkusen to win it all. If they do, we'll get automatic berth into the Champions League as a result of us being high-ranked. And Leverkusen having won the Bundesliga. Congrats to Leverkusen. SLBES.
Yeah, congrats to everybody. For this,
you keep interrupting me, bro. Shut the
Wanted to
fuck
say
up,
except the
man.
left back,
Holy
Alfredo,
shit.
except the left back.
Our most
I
expensive player
follow.
really sucked. Not sure if we give him another season or take loss and sell him back to Turkey. But I mean, after you've seen the past couple of games that Kokshu has played in his natural position, you still of that opinion, or you want to give him another more time?
Has he ever played in Turkey?
He played for the
I don't
national
think he
team.
No,
has.
he's
Yeah, but to sell him
he was
back
born
means
he was born in the Netherlands from Turkish parents. I don't
Yeah.
think and he was born
yeah.
and raised there, so I don't think he's ever been never played for Turkey or any club teams at least.
Kevin says
Yeah, exactly.
I'd keep Tino and Neves as starters next year. If we keep Neves, Frederick would be my sub. If Neves leaves, then he's a starter. Let's see. Diogo says back up the Brinks truck to Neves front door and pay him like you pay Di Maria and these other foreigners to keep him another year or two. Yeah, it's going to be tricky with João Neves and Tony Silva. I think there's probably more of a market for João Neves. What say you, Chris? Between
No, you want me to talk?
yeah, pa.
Okay,
Well,
I'll talk.
when I call on you,
Remember,
yes, but when I'm speaking, don't interrupt.
I'm fucking with you. Tem
Foda-se.
calma, bro. I interrupt you all the time.
Yeah, you
Continua a
do.
falar quando eu falo. What was I gonna say? Unfortunately, I think that decision will be out of both players' hands or the club. I think George Mendes will have a lot to say about that. So
Yeah.
sucks, but it's the truth. And not just that, guys. Let's remember, Benfica has to. If you listen to the vice president and this and that, which these guys are supposed to be the financial money guys that know the business of Benfica a lot more than I do or will ever understand. They themselves say that Benfica has to sell in order to balance books and whatever. That's why, for most of you, if you're wondering why Benfica at first loaned out Gonçalo Ramos and then activated the option to sell him to PSG, it was because they needed it to fall in whatever semester this
Yeah.
year's semester, yada yada yada, because of balancing books. So yeah, I don't know what the hell they're doing with the money with all these that they're getting from all these sales and whatever. But yeah, apparently, I think one for sure is leaving, and I'm inclined to say both are leaving, unless you get some crazy, which we doubt, right? Unless you're gonna get some $30 million offer for Cabral or even 30 million for Koksu. There's nobody else really on the plantel that you're gonna make money off. You know, you're not gonna sell Trubin. Moratu, I don't think you're gonna sell him at this point. Again, I mean, so those are the only two guys that you really. I mean, maybe Dave, you think we could fool somebody into buying Tankstead
Yeah.
There might be a market there for some lower club, maybe even
from
just cut our
MLS?
losses.
That-
Maybe.
MLS, yeah, but that's not making money though, Dave.
Yeah,
I'm talking
that's
about making
basically
money.
just cutting your losses and
how much did
calling
we
it
spend
a
on
deal.
Tankstead? Do you remember, Dave?
I
I
want
think it
to
was
say
like
around 10.
7.
Really?
Yeah, 7 to 10. No, I think 10. I think 10 was Shaldrup, and I think he was 7,
Okay,
something like
that's
that,
right.
Dave, right? Or was it 15? I don't know, something like that. I think Shaldrup was 15. I don't know.
Dave, stats
It was
on
something
this
along
game
those
while
lines.
I look for the next comment to mention.
Yeah, just wrapping up Benfica's European campaign here with this elimination. Our record this season: 4 wins, 3 draws, 5 defeats in 12 matches across the Champions League and Europa League, with 14 goals scored, 16 against, and with us being eliminated at the penalties, it's the third competition in a row that we've been eliminated when it comes to penalty shootouts. So we lost to Braga last season in penalties, Estoril in the Liga this year, and now Marseille in the Europa League. So maybe one of the things that Roger and the training staff on their long list of things to work on, the penalty taking abilities here for our squad.
Yeah. So goodbye, Europa League. I think they would put a knife in everybody's heart that was hoping that we could get a little further down Europa League, but I guess not. But turning our attention to Farense, Benfica played Farense this past Monday. Lineup Trubin, Ba, Silva, Otamendi, and Carreras. Tino and João Mário, Di Maria, Kokshu, Cabral, and Gouveia. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 changes in this game from the game in Marseille. And look, I don't know if you guys have been watching, but the feeling that I get from watching this team play, it seems that the team is a lot looser in terms of the way they move the ball. There's better dynamics. There's guys playing in their positions, and Carreras actually had a decent game. We went up on the scoreboard early, 16 minutes, Kokshu off of a Ba assist. Then in the 23rd minute, we tied. We allowed Farense to tie off of that ball situation. 33rd minute, Cabral off of an assist from Ba. Nice goal. The classic let the ball under under your legs and then just backheel it away from the keeper. Good goal by Cabral, and Ba really had himself a good game, and Carreras too. Carreras too. Chris, do you think that Carreras did enough to convince Benfica to keep him, or do you think that decision's already been made?
Well, let's try not to ignore the huge elephant in the room.
Ooh,
You know,
Cabral?
when you said no, when you say that, this team looks looser, they move the ball around, let's not forget that these guys are basically playing with no pressure at
Right.
this time as well,
I
nothing to
get it.
lose. So it's a lot easier to just come in and the bums got our ball, we're going for a walk in the park in Faro and then come back to our sweet cushion homes in Lisboa. But to answer your question on Carreras, yeah, I mean he looked good this one game. He looked like a decent player. Um, but the huge question is, guys, if
It's one game
Benfica
sample
doesn't,
size.
no, but I'm not even gonna go off of there, right? Um, if Benfica were to exercise the option to purchase them from Man United, do you guys think he'd be ready to start from day one next year? Or would you be comfortable with him being your starter? Because again, Benfica's going off a season without a title. Okay. Um, there's gonna be tons of pressure on Benfica coaching staff, president. It depends. I mean, obviously, unless if the president leaves or coaching staff gets fired and brings in a new one, there's expectations are going to be high. Um, so they can't get off the gate slow once again. So I think Benfica next year has to go into a season with fullbacks who will give you guarantees. And are you comfortable off of what you've seen so far in limited opportunities that Carreras would be a viable option? That's the question you have to answer, or you have to ask yourself.
Yeah, that's it.
And
No, that's a fair point.
at this point, I like the guy. I like him. And let's not forget, Jurassic Park comes back from loan. I doubt Offenheim is going to pick up the option. Um, so, I mean, would you be comfortable Carreras in Jurassic?
No, no,
I don't know. That's the
not if
question.
you're not if you're in the Champions League.
O Benfica não pode começar o ano que vem. Benfica cannot start next year with a question mark. If they're gonna pick up the option on Carreras, it's to play, and I'm not sure it's he's there yet. I'm not saying he's not gonna get there, but you can't start the season off once again with question mark.
No, I agree with you. I think that Carreras is still a young kid. Is a project for the future. Um, it's a couple games is a very small sample size, but certainly playing without pressure helps. But also having the game that he had, the performance that he had, is something that builds up on his confidence. So I'm happy that he's playing well at the end of the season now that he's getting minutes. If you guys recall when Grimaldo first joined Benfica, he joined Benfica mid-season, and he didn't get to play. He didn't get to have real minutes until like the last couple games of the season, if I remember correctly. So it's a process, right? Young players, big club, have to get acclimated to the club, have to be able to not let the pressure of playing for a club like Benfica get to you as a young kid. And certainly you got to have a coach that supports you. You got to have a coach that gives you minutes when you're supposed to get minutes, not just leave you on a bench buried until the end of the season when there's nothing to play for. because I mean, if he really counted on Carreras, uh, he would have played him against Marseille ahead of Auschwitz as a natural left back. But the confidence wasn't there. So hopefully, Carreras will use the end of the season to gain some points in terms of Roger Schmidt, whether Roger Schmidt stays or not. And I've started to lean towards, not lean, but feel that Roger Schmidt is going to get another year.
Listen, I'll tell you this much. I do agree with you somewhat. Um, I think before Monday, I was I was thinking that Roger Schmidt was most likely coming back. After Monday, I'm not so sure right now. So I would not be surprised either way if he's back or if he doesn't. I will not be surprised. But what I wanted to add was when you said that Carreras will have these remaining 4 games to show Roger Schmidt what he has. What I was going to say is, God, I hope that Roger Schmidt is not the one making the decision on him because every decision he's made in terms of left back has been a bad decision.
You're right.
So I hope he's not the last word.
You're right. You're right. But so coming out of the second half, 62nd minute substitutions. I almost fell off my chair. Neves came in for Gouveia. Neves came in for Tino. In the 67th, 3-1 by Benfica off of Carreras' goal. Nice little goal. Cut inside, hit it with his right foot on the far corner off of a Di Maria crossfield switch. Then in the 72nd minute, Auschwitz came in for Neves, who had gotten hurt after clashing heads with a Farense player. Looked like he developed a huge swollen forehead right above his eye. We didn't really see it, but that's what they were talking about. And then in the 84th minute, when you're winning 3-1, he brings in Leonardo and Rollheiser for Cabral and Di Maria. So nothing new there. Winning 3-1 in the 67th minute. Why wouldn't you give Leonardo and Rollheiser more minutes to play?
Yeah, bro, Alfredo. I don't like this guy. Okayed. I'm just guessing out things. This is the way things normally go, right? In clubs, right? He gave the green light in January to acquire Marcos Leonardo. To then bring this guy in, I think what is it against the law to bring this guy in before the 88th minute or 86th minute, whatever it is? I just don't understand it. I don't understand. Same thing with Rollheiser. Benfica paid an additional. Benfica was initially going to pay 9 million euros for his rights, but he was joining in July. Benfica paid, I forget the name of his club, an additional 500,000 euros to get him now, which was then
Newells. I think he
now
came from
meaning
Newells, right?
okay, meaning January, right? To then go ahead, go the rest of the season, barely playing it. So why pay this? I mean, again, $500,000 is not a lot of money when you're talking about 30 million, right? In comparison to
Right.
Koksu, but at the end of the day, why spend that extra money bringing in a guy that you're not going to play? I just don't understand what the fuck he's doing. I don't understand, guys. I don't. I'm sorry.
On both
I
of
just
them,
don't get it.
both Rollheiser and Cabral. And Rollheiser, like you
Cabral
said, we
or
paid extra to
Cabral
bring.
or
No, I'm sorry, Leonardo.
Cabral or
Leonardo.
yeah, Leonardo. Yeah.
Rollheiser, we
No,
paid extra.
Leonardo, yeah, Leonardo was now, right?
Yeah,
But now Rollheiser was not going to come now, but I guess he insisted.
right. If he could paid more,
So only then sit him on the bench. I don't get it.
right.
I don't get it.
Dave,
Marcelo, bueno.
yeah, before Dave goes into the stats, obviously we gotta address what went on after the game. And look, I understand Benfiquistas being upset, and I am one of them. But there's ways to manifest your insatisfaction, right? Can whistle the team after the game if that's what you feel you should do. But I think that throwing stuff at the team or at the coach or anybody in the technical staff, I think that goes a little bit beyond what a normal class Benfica fan should do. Right? There's always going to be bad apples. There's always going to be black sheep in a bunch. There's always going to be retards that are going to be singled out and looked at as a bit of a general behavior from Benfica fans. But I think it's harsh to look at half a dozen guys or a dozen guys and think that that's what the Benfica masses and fandom is all about. We're definitely not. Um, the Rogers, the the other thing that I just saw, obviously, I don't know how many of you guys have seen this. The one guy that is the trainer for Benfica, he's like the guy that is like the coach,
Fitness coach.
the fitness coach.
Fitness coach.
There's a video of him of the same angle on a bola in which he is looking at the fans where all that commotion was happening, and he goes and spits on the ground as he looks at the fans, in a clear act of defiance and disrespect. And look, as players and fans, I know that as players and coaches, it's hard to hear the shit that you hear from the stands. It's hard to see that bottles are being thrown at you, but I think that as protagonists in the game and as members of the game and the whole spectacle, I think you need to hold yourself at a higher standard. You can't let that shit get to you. You kind of have to ignore it and walk into the locker room. And I think that the action by this person is inexcusable, as well as the fans that were there in that moment. Their actions are also inexcusable. We don't condone violence or acts of that type. I just think that takes away from who Benfica is. We talk about DNA all the time. We talk about that we're class acts and we don't put our knife on our teeth like Porto. Porto will win at any cost. If Porto thought that selling their mom was going to get them a win, they would do that because they do anything to win. And Benfica, I don't think is that type of a club. That's not in our DNA. And oftentimes people get upset because we're too soft. We're too soft sometimes on our opponents. As Cristiano mentioned, foot on the throat when we had the chance and we never do it. And I think that even in terms of being in public, exchanging banter with Porto guys or with Sporting guys in terms of the leadership, we don't get into that. We kind of take the high road, which sometimes I could appreciate, but other times, you kind of have to get down and dirty and trade blows in the same manner at the same height as all the other guys do. But I think that action and then Roger Schmidt's comments after the game, which are mind-blowing, right? Because he says that the first game against Marseille, Stade de Luge, the fans whistled the team at the end of the game, and they sent us off to Marseille with that feeling, and that was one of the reasons why we lost the game or we struggled. I don't know the verbatim from what he said, but it was right along those lines. And I just think that is ridiculous from Roger Schmidt to think that it was the fans' fault, it was the fans' fault that Benfica didn't win in Marseille, and it was because they were whistled at the end of the game. And the other thing is that telling Benfica fans to stay home. If they're going to come to the stadium and manifest themselves or manifest their unhappiness and their frustration, to stay home. You can't. I mean, that's just not things that you say in front of the TV, and it goes back. It goes back to what we're saying. Where is the guy that is in charge of Benfica's communication? Because God forbid a podcast tries to get a Benfica player as a guest or somebody related to Benfica as a guest. Those guys are right on top of it. When some news came out of Nabola from Domingos Soares Oliveira, paid for his daughter's wedding, blah, 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 blah. Benfica came out and defended all the guys that they needed defended. But when it comes to this, I think that the Benfica's communication department, and we've been talking about this all year round, has been poor, has been shitty. Then today we had Rui Costas in a pre-recorded message saying that he understands the frustration, and the players and the team, the technical staff is frustrated, but that there's limits in terms of how you could manifest your unhappiness. And I think, and he did say that. Not that I think, he said that now twice, and coincidentally, on the two games against Farense, now twice. He feels that fans have crossed the border in terms of the way they've manifested themselves, and to a degree, I agree with what he said, but certainly I think that Benfica is a democratic club, and I think that the fans should have the right to manifest themselves. I think that obviously there's limits to which you could do it, but I think that a lot of the frustration that fans feel has been caused by the club, has been caused by the lack of communication, has been caused by the lack of transparency by the club. I mean,
The lack of
the
accountability.
lack of accountability. And I'll give you an example, and it might be a little bit unrelated to this conversation, right? But it really shows the separation between the club and the fans, and what the club wants to do with the fans, right? We saw a couple days ago when Sporting returned to Alvalade, how fans were allowed to circle the bus and be around the bus and manifest their support for the team. But at Benfica, it's almost like it's like when you go see the White House, there's a fence that's like 50 yards away from, and I'm sorry that for our European listeners, 50 yards is a big distance, right? So it's
50 meters.
yeah,
50 meters.
just think about that, right? That all the Benfica fans need to be a ways, a long distance from where the bus goes around the rotunda to come into the stadium, and that's just an example of you
É a
know
rotunda dos
yeah.
campeões.
So
A
is
rotunda dos
is
campeões, I
it
think.
is it the PSP that dictates this is unsafe? Because clearly, Sporting fans were allowed to do the same thing, and nobody said a word about it. Or is it the club trying to distance themselves from natural manifestations of happiness and support by the fans, because they also feel that within those manifestations of support, there's also manifestations of unhappiness. So perhaps it's the club trying to kind of build a moat around the stadium where fans can't really penetrate and go manifest themselves. But anyway,
Either reason, Alfredo, either reason is severe.
yeah,
If it is the PSP that is treating Sportingistas different than Benfiquistas, that needs explaining. Why treating citizens different than other citizens? And if it is the club that is asking for this separation, I don't know what's more severe. I think they're both very severe, and they both need justification. So I did see that. It was something I was gonna say, but I'm glad you mentioned it. I was gonna mention that. The other thing is, if you don't mind, me jumping in,
no, I don't
um,
mind. Go ahead.
wanted to wanted to comment on what you were saying in terms of what happened after Monday's game. Look, I am a person that exigência. I said this on Twitter earlier today. Exigência, demand, requirements, always 100% of the time. Violence, never. It's a sport.
Yeah,
With that being said, the only thing I had a problem with on Monday was the throwing of bottles at players and coaching staff and directors and the like. Okay, that's the only problem. But in terms of the person yelling to get him, bro, any of you guys, I see some people on the Freddies on the chat saying they feel bad for Rock. Listen, this is what you sign up for. This is football. Understand, you're not gonna get a bunch of choir boys going to games and being content. And in particular, with the disaster of a season that we've had, with a coach that doesn't take any accountability, with a coach that has actually gone after the fans themselves. on multiple occasions. And whether you like the fans or not, you have to understand the club is, in other words, right? We know at the end of the day the Sausages have nothing to fucking say, right? They're just the wool over your head. But at least in their mind, they're told they're Sausages. Eles são os donos do clube. They gotta answer to the Sausages. And this coach just wants to ignore that fact and go after players, and then the fans are gonna turn on them. I look, I'm all for sitting there banging on walls, banging on glass. Like, it is what it is, man. You need a justification. You need to intimidate the players. You need to let the players know that here we demand that you come and bring your lunch pail to work all day and work 9 to 5 and bust your ass. This is anyone complaining that this is over the top because the guys were screaming at players. Come on, man. Give me a break. Give me a break. That's a wuss mentality. Sports is a gladiator sport. It's a gladiator arena. Look, if they're touching players, if they're salty players, if they're throwing stuff at them, then yes, I do not, in no shape or form, condone that. That should never happen anywhere, anywhere. But in terms of shouting and screaming, come on, give me a break. Where's the harm in that? You're gonna hurt somebody's feelings? Oh, whippy freaking do.
Yeah, I
That's just my 2 cents.
agreed. Dave, let's have some stats so we can move on. We're already at 1 minute, 1 hour and 6 minutes. I forgot to say goodbye to our PAMA media friends.
Yeah, just before we do, and I agree with Chris here in terms of like this, where when they start getting violent, that's where I tune out and I don't really support whatever cause they're trying to make, because there's a way to protest, and there's a time to do it as well, and I just didn't feel that was the right way to handle it. And it's gonna be scary how the rest of this season ends here, because like you've said, Alfredo, we've really got nothing to play for now. We've pretty much got second place in the bag, and now these next 4 games, is this how it's going to be? The fans versus Roger and versus the training staff, especially when you
Dave, it's
don't
gonna get
have,
uglier. Dave,
yeah,
it's gonna get
especially when
uglier
you
on
don't have the
Saturday.
president coming out in, like, I know Rui Costa released that video clip on BTV today, but there's got to come there's got to be some real communication that comes out, whether he sits in front. And I don't think you're going to get that before the end of the season, unfortunately. And this is when it's going to get really messy and ugly. But it's almost like there's like a civil war happening here within our club, and it's unfortunate. Like, at the end of the day, like, I know we all want the best for the club, but does it really have to go down this path to get what a segment, or I don't even want to call it a segment. I guess what these fans want, right? I know they want Roger out, and he might end up being there. He might not end up being there, but that communication's got to come from up top, and then we can start going and moving along from there. Because this back and forth between the club and or the fans and the training staff is good for nobody. And then if Roger leaves, who wants to come in and take over? You're one. Yeah, I don't think you're gonna
A
get a
million
foreigner.
coaches. A million coaches.
I know
Dave.
you're gonna say that because it is Benfica, but
It's
you're not
Benfica. They're
gonna.
in the Champions League. They got a great stadium. They got a great academy. Benfica plays well. You'll have guys lining up to take the job. But I understand what you're saying.
And then
It's not a good
2
look.
years 2 years from now, we're in this same situation again. We're turning on the
Well,
coach,
I mean,
and
it doesn't have to be like that, Dave. I
it
think
doesn't. It
I
doesn't,
think that
right?
Roger Schmidt really did a poor job in communicating with the fans and understanding the fans' demands and exigência. Um, and I think that he did a poor job with that because I don't think anybody would have. People would have been upset, obviously, but I think that people would have been more understanding when Roger Schmidt comes out and says, "Hey, look, I tried this and it didn't work. We're gonna go back to the training grounds and do something else. But don't tell me top game, top team, or
Yeah.
it's okay to lose against Sturil,
Yeah,
or
but that's the thing, Alfredo. I was gonna say to Dave, right? Dave just said that, then you have nobody from the top that comes out and speak. And here's the thing, guys. Dave, unfortunately, I think the damage once that press conference aired, The damage was done. There's nothing Rui Costa could have come out. Rui Costa could have come out like he did after the Porto game. You guys recall?
Yeah.
Roger Schmidt's like, I know to apologize. And Rui Costa came out right away. And like, he could have done the same exact thing. And I think the damage is done. It's not the first time that Roger goes after the fans. And these guys will make it known on Saturday. So,
oh yeah,
I agree. I agree that the president should have came out, but I'm just saying it wouldn't have changed a thing in terms of the way that they're going to react at the state. It might have changed yours, in my opinion. You get what I'm saying, Dave? But as far as what these guys are going to do on Saturday, it wouldn't have changed a thing.
Look, you got a memorable moment by Roger Schmidt when he initially arrived at Benfica that he could have built up on that. I think that Roger Schmidt did a really poor job in managing the expectations of the fans, or even maintaining open dialogue, honest, transparent dialogue with the fan base. That could have kept this thing basically just under boiling point. And I think that he did a poor job. I thought he did a poor job because, look, the team had problems, and a lot of problems we pointed out to Roger Schmidt as being the problem, but being that he was the reason and he was the one that making the decisions, perhaps he can explain to people what his train of thought is. And maybe if I'm sitting there after a game where Benfica played poorly and Roger Schmidt speaks in a tone where I feel it's truthful, sincere, and genuine, and he explains what went wrong, I'm a lot more at ease than I am with top game, top players, top team. Bullshit. I think that he did a really shitty job in managing the relationship he has with the fans. And if the fan base is at the point that we're at, ready to erupt, and it's going to happen this Saturday, we all know it's going to happen, it's because of him. It's because he didn't manage the relationship the way he was supposed to manage it.
If Roger Schmidt thinks that being criticized by the fan base is a bad thing, if he thinks he's going to go to a club where he's not going to get criticized, then my man he's even more clueless than I thought. And he needs to go coach Pee Wee soccer or whatever it's called. You know what I mean? Because at every club, bro, when you lose, unless he has that spectacular season where he doesn't lose a game, nobody will question anything. Like if we're winning every game 3-4-0, Dave, Alfredo, I'm not going to question why you're bringing in Marcos Leonardo in the 88th minute. Hey, we're winning. No, nobody will care.
Yep.
But come on, to think that you're not going to be criticized for such a poor season, a poor run of games in major competitions, being eliminated in every competition that we've played in so far, you're naive. And this is not me going after Roger Schmidt. It's not a personal. It's just I don't care who the coach is. If you think that's the way things are, you're very naive, bro. And I'm surprised. This is a guy that's been around the corner. He's been fired by multiple clubs. So what? When he got fired by PSV or whatever, what they gave him roses? The fan base gave. I mean, if they did that, that's because they were happy to see him leave. Like, yeah, bums and butter. Here's some roses, some flowers. See your ass out the door. It's very naive of him, bro. And to go after the fan base, which at the end of the day, any club around the world without its fans is nothing, right? There's people that say to this day that Manchester City is a plastic club because the fans are fake. These are the guys that travel around the world and support. These are the same fans, guys. If you don't forget, they're the same fans that were in Sociedad after Benfica was getting humiliated and sitting there and chanting. These are the same fans that went to Dragão, our fiercest, biggest rival, losing 5-0 in order to stand screaming and clapping and singing the songs for this freaking team. Those are the same fans. Now you want to blame them for your loss? And if that is indeed the case, that the players were hurt in some way or shape or form, they were depressed or whatever it was to go and play a game because they were whistled a game before. Well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? I know I sound like an asshole, but again, sports It's just the way it is. It's cutthroat. If your players feel that way, I don't want you in my club.
Yeah,
you don't belong in my club.
You get paid a lot of money, and that money.
I'm not even going to say the money, Alfredo. I'm not even going to say the money. You got to say, like, you're playing at Benfica. What do you think this is going to be?
Yeah. You think it? Yeah.
What do you think? Yeah. What do you think this is going to? You're playing at Sporting Benfica. Where a draw is a loss of points. A draw is a disappointment. What do you think is going to happen? You invested millions and millions of dollars on this team. You don't get the performances that everyone expects. The most expensive roster in the history of Portuguese football. And the best you can come up with is top game, top perform. We played really well. You just lost to fucking Studio, bro.
Yep. Inexcusable. Dave, you want to give us some stats on the Farense game?
Yeah, let's wrap this up.
Yeah, wrap it up.
Some positives here. Back-to-back league matches that Koksu has found the score sheet. Cabral with his 11th of the season, his first goal scored since March 17th. And Ba with 2 assists in this match, and Queiroz opens his Benfica account with his goal scored.
Yeah. Next up is Braga. Benfica will host Braga at Estádio da Luz this Saturday. I didn't write down the time.
1 o'clock, I believe, our time.
1 o'clock our time at Braga. Let's see.
No, at home.
Yeah, that's right. At home. Let's see what happens.
SOBE's Alfredo's asking the question. If you just read some comments, there's some questions and some stuff.
There's a lot of comments, man. People are having like really nice conversations here in the chat, and I feel bad reading a comment because there's a lot of they're just going back and forth and talking to each other. So who do you want next? Marco Silva, Bruno Lage, another foreigner? I don't know. To be honest with you, I think that Roger Schmidt gets another year. It's going to be Rui Costa's hardest decision to make. With Roger Schmidt.
You think so, Alfredo?
Yeah.
Look? Here's the thing.
In his career as a president.
Here's the thing, Alfredo. This is why I'm not so sure, right? That will be the decision, because it is. You are a year away from election, 2025. Is Rui really going to go down with the ship sinking with this guy at the helm? Or do you think Rui is going to try to save this?
I don't know.
Because if he decides to bring him back, and we're sitting here next May in a similar situation, even if you won the Taça da Liga, right? Or Taça Portugal, but you lost everything else. Eliminated in Champions League early. Let's just say the same year, but I'll give you the Taça da Liga. Okay, which is a cup. Right? I mean, Benfica was such an overwhelming, advantage over all the competition in Portugal. They should be at the very least able to win the Taça da Liga. You think Rui Costa is gonna be in good grounds with the fans come the elections? I think he's gonna try to save this. I think he's gonna try to save himself, unless you have another start like you did last year to Roger Schmidt first year, right? If that is it, then Rui Costa is going to look like the smartest man in the room. But if he doesn't and the ship sinks, Rui might just sink with it, man.
Yeah.
And you know one thing, Rui, since a very young age, he loves being adored by the fan.
Yep.
Is he going to want that to turn on him?
Yep.
But I think maybe he's waiting to see what these other situations across Europe, these other coaching opportunities, if somebody comes knocking at the door maybe and they just mutually agree to go part ways at the end of the season, and Bayern takes them, or another one of these clubs that need a coach. I don't know. I don't agree how you get another coaching position after a failure of this season, but that's the way of the business.
He'll get it, Dave, but Bayern Munich?
I doubt it.
All for this?
No.
You know, like he'll get a job. You want to tell me he gets Offenheim or Werder Bremen or whatever? Okay, but Bayern Munich?
Yeah, unless he interviews really well.
Maybe he does a better job in German than in English.
Yeah. Look, we'll have plenty of time to talk about the Rui Costa's decisions and Roger Schmidt at the end of the season. Braga game will after seeing the team nice and loose, I'll be curious to see how Roger's going to line up against Braga at Stade Luz on Saturday, 1 p.m. local, not 1 p.m. local, 6 p.m. local time, Lisbon. I'm curious to see who will line up. Will he go with the rotated squad that we've been seeing the past two domestic games, or will we back to the same 11 with the only difference Cabral instead of Tenkstead up front? I don't know. I'll be curious to see what happens there. Braga still with trying to get that third place. They're currently tied with Porto. Porto also plays Sporting this weekend, so it will be a point bonanza if teams could take advantage of the head-to-head matchups between the first four teams in the Portuguese league. What else we got? What else can we talk about, Cristiano?
I see a lot of chatter about who
Coach,
people would sell, who people would sell, wingers, and we have to save that for.
Yeah, we're gonna.
That's the buy, sell, loan.
That's our end of season show. We'll have that for you.
I will just say this to some of the Freddies because they're saying to sell off a lot of guys and go with youngsters.
We'll get there.
At some point, you need some. Well, I was just gonna say, at some point, guys, keep in mind you need some experience.
Yeah, you do. You got to have a nice
roll
mix.
Out. You can't just roll out youngsters like that and then expect to compete. And then, or else we'll be right back here again saying that it's another failed season. So you need a little mix, guys.
Yeah,
just keep that in mind. But we'll obviously touch that on
and we'll talk about
show
coaches
that I'm pretty
too.
sure.
I'm not sure that
coach. I'll tell you, Paulo Fonseca is my choice.
Yeah, Paulo Fonseca, Leonardo Jardim. I know Leonardo Jardim has kind of been missing in action for a while, but I would take him. I think he's a good coach. But yeah, Paulo Fonseca will be right there. I don't, I don't have anything against Milton St. JJ back. I don't have anything against foreign coaches, but I think that oftentimes foreign coaches are out of touch with the Tugão reality, and despite having guys that tell them on the side, hey, this stadium is like this club is like this, the media works like this. I think that Roger Schmidt, up until this day, I think he still hasn't figured out how the Tugão works. So maybe a Portuguese coach understanding all the nuances and the little things that happen in a Portuguese league is probably a better fit. But either or, I don't have a preference. I just think that if you bring somebody, the first thing that you have to do, that you should do to all the players and coaches, is take them through that museum tour, so they could get a feel for who Benfica is at a club, who their fans are, what the history of the club, what the expectations, what the DNA is on the club, so that when you take over the club and you talk in front of the microphones of the media, you know who you're talking to in terms of fan base and in terms of media. I think that is really all that I would expect from the club to do with the new coach. I don't have a preference with a foreign. I just want a guy to come in and do the job that he has to do with the resources that he has, and certainly Roger Schmidt had a lot of resources this year at his disposal, and he really didn't use them to the best of the squad's abilities. But anyway, let's get out of here. I got some.
I wanted to. Last thing, Alfred. Red Baron mentions that Jupp Heynckes left a miserable Benfica to sign for Bayern Munich and took him to the Champions League. Fine. Yes, but if you recall, if I'm not mistaken, and I think
Benfica was in disarray.
I'm correct here. No, but not just that. Well, and I'll never forget him because he's the one that said Deco sucks. Deco will never be able to play in Europe, and then Deco went to Soccer.
But he's responsible also for João Pinto leaving Benfica.
Yeah, that was more Valia's with, but yes. What was I going to say? The year before at Real Madrid, if I'm not mistaken, he won the Champions League with Real Madrid, if I'm not mistaken, Red Baron. So he had that on his resume. I don't see a Champions League on Roger Schmidt's resume.
I don't think you'll ever see a
Totally
Champions
different.
League on his resume.
And Drew Pikes was a lot further down in his career as well. Had been very successful spells and whatever. So, like I said, I think he won the Champions League the year before with Madrid, and they opted to go back to Del Bosque or whatever, Spanish coach or whatever. I think, I mean, it's been a long time, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was. So totally different, Baron. He says foreigner definitely the only coach in Portugal we could have gone, and now is gone. The guy that signed for Braga, Daniel Souza. Was a guy in Portugal, coaching in Portugal that I like.
Ooh.
I think his teams play great football, and he absolutely spanked us until the 60-something minute, until they got a red card in there. No, the guy from Rio Ave, little dude with the beard.
Oh, yeah.
Faria, I think it's Faria, something like that.
I don't know who his name is.
Daniel Faria.
There's a couple guys, but I think that in terms of experience, they don't have the experience that I would like. I'd like a guy to have a little bit more experience to take over a club like Benfica.
Who with more experience?
Yeah, a guy with more experience.
Yeah, I mean, look,
yeah. There's no doubt,
Alfredo,
that I recognize.
I'll tell you this: when Benfica signed their most successful coach, not named Sven Goran Eriksson or Bella Gutman or Otto, whatever his name was, right? When they signed him, he didn't have experience at a big club, and I was 100% against it. And he went on to have the most successful career in the last 40 years, the most successful coach.
Yeah, but he had experience at Braga.
I mean, come on, Braga was nothing at the time.
Nah, but
we're talking about a totally different Alfredo.
Bro, he took Braga far, bro.
That's fine, but Braga wasn't. Yeah, but Alfredo. But taking Braga far at that time is like taking Rio Ave now. Braga wasn't the Braga you're talking about.
No, it wasn't,
today,
but
Alfredo.
It was the start of it. Don't forget that the couple years after he left Braga, Braga made it to the Europa League finals.
No, exactly. He built those, but what I'm telling you is, at the time, Braga wasn't the Braga you're expecting now, that you see now, that's expected to finish in the top five in the league.
Right, but he kind
of
built
at the time was yes, exactly. But he built it. But that's what I'm saying. That's credit to him. That's not a Braga. That's not a Braga thing. It's a Jorge Jesus credit.
Yeah.
And when he took over, Braga had no pressure. Whatever you did at Braga was like, ooh, gravy.
Yeah.
So when he took over Benfica, I'm like, this guy's got no experience at this level. And look, he proved me wrong.
All right. Want to say goodbye to our PAMA media friends. If you want to catch the rest of the podcast, you could tune into all podcast aggregators and grab it there. Anyway, that is all that we got for today. Thank you very much. We'll have more conversation, more podcasts, and we'll get to discuss what coaches we'd like to be coaching Benfica. I think that right now you have to sit tight, because I don't think Roger Schmidt is going anywhere, at least not for the next 3-4 games.
Is Verissimo available?
Verissimo is available. He's coaching the B.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. Hey, maybe they should tap into Verissimo. Maybe give us some tips on dead ball situations, because we're horrible defending and attacking dead balls. That corner, that direct corner, we've been hitting that direct corner since the beginning of the season.
And we scored it, I think, once or twice with Di Maria, and it's like, oh shit, it works. It's like you said, the lineup, we won the game, he doesn't change. It's like, oh, he scored a goal with the Olympico. Okay, Di Maria, keep doing it. Let's not change anything. So he's very consistent in his decision.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. Thank you very much for checking us out. We'll be back next week. We'll recap the Braga game. We'll look at whatever other game comes up next. Laters. Chris, always a pleasure having you, man. Dave, same like you. I'm sorry that Chris didn't let you speak.
No, it's good. He wasn't here these last couple of weeks, so I get to take the night off.
You had a lot to catch up on. And Dave, when he lets you speak, he just goes against you anyway, so it doesn't matter.
No, that was one time.
I wasn't going against Dave. We were adding. I was just adding to Dave's point. That was it. It's a good dialogue, right, Dave?
That's it.
Come on, Dave's a Ranger fan, bro. During the playoffs.
See you, everybody.
Dave, good.
Take care.
Arrivederci.